The 30th of August 2024, the world is in a much more precarious or dangerous state than most people realize. Essentially, you have Germany in Europe, which is a complete and utter puppet of the United States. You have NATO, which includes Turkey and has a huge army. And with the Ukraine war, Ukraine has invaded Russia, the Kursk region of Russia. And the information I'm getting is that this was a crack battalion. This was a very, very elite battalion of Ukrainian troops, which were specially trained by NATO. And they're in there. Now, presumably, the Russians could bomb them out of it, but the problem is there is a civilian population there. So, how do you bomb the Ukrainian troops without hitting your own people? Certainly, the one thing for certain is that Putin will take his time. He's not a man known to make over hasty decisions, and that can be good or it can be bad. Now, the other thing is that the United States, through NATO, or it's more correctly NATO, has agreed and made an agreement with Germany to station long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles in Germany. Now, there used to be nuclear proliferation treaties. There used to be treaties on limiting nuclear weapons. They're all gone out the window, all dumped out the window. And may I say, from what I understand, they've been all abandoned by the West, not by any of the other countries. Now, it has to be said that Obama had some kind of a deal with Iran to stop nuclear proliferation there, and Donald Trump threw it out the window. They were paying them the full of a football stadium of $100 bills. It's billions. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm not saying. But the bottom line is, it's the West that's breaking the nuclear treaties. Now, this thing about stationing nuclear weapons in Germany, with the history of Germany, to my notion is a bit over the top. Viktor Orban in Hungary is shocked, and the Serbians and a lot of Germany's neighbours are shocked. Now, there's a Russian general, he's retired, has issued a warning. He said, you don't know what you're dealing with. We have technically a situation where NATO has invaded Russia. Like, up to now, the West and NATO helped Ukraine, but they didn't actually take part ostensibly in the fighting. Now, they've done nearly everything to be there themselves. Right, you can argue the Ukraine is not a member of NATO. But you can know well that the Ukraine did not go in there without the consent of NATO and the Americans. Now, I don't know about Wagner and Prigozhin. A lot of us felt that he went up in the air and his plane was taken out of it at the order of Vladimir Putin. He denied it. I'd say on balance, he probably did, I don't know. But one thing I would imagine is that Putin regrets the death of Prigozhin. Prigozhin and his troops would be the ideal people now to go into Kursk. And Putin has neutered the Wagner group. He has brought them under control. but they would be very, very useful now. I don't believe that Zelensky would have went in to Kursk if he was still around. There'd be a battle straight away. Now, where there are civilians involved, of course, everyone has to be careful. So what is going to happen? It would seem to me that the Russians will create a pincer movement. They'll cut off the supply lines to these troops. So we have to watch that. And you have other people who would say, well, they go into Ukraine, we go into Russia. Fair play. What goes around comes around. We're dealing with the second most powerful military power in the world. We're dealing with a better armed nuclear power, equal or maybe better to the United States. And they're seeing their whole area being surrounded. To see a completely woke government in Germany. Now, there are elections coming off soon. I don't think it's only a few days away in Germany. And we'll watch the stories there, but there is a lot of talk and a lot of polls saying that the present Schulz government is going to be shook. Now, I don't think they're for national elections, they're regional elections. But definitely the position of the present German government is very weak. There's pandemonium in France. Macron called an election and he got woke lefties and he realises they'll drive the place bananas. He'll be blamed for the whole mess to leave. Imagine woke communists, lefties, functional Marxists. That's what he got for his quick election. So between the two of them, it's a dangerous situation. If I were to bet, God forbid, and in touch wood, I hope it doesn't happen. There's a piece of wood. If there's to be a nuclear attack, it'll start from Russia and it'll be lobbed straight into Berlin. And if a nuclear bomb hits Berlin, the fallout will cover a lot of Europe. Do you know something? I don't think the American Democratic Party and the deep state it represents are going to let Trump in there into that White House. If they can't rig the election, they will do something before the election. They'll turn up the ante. And don't forget what the goal of all this was, what these people wanted, the deep state. They're led and said by big business, big pharma, big military. Of the recent 60 billion given to Ukraine, 70% of it goes directly to arms companies around Washington. Apparently, an awful lot of the big arms people, Lockheed Martin and all them, are around Washington. Correct me if I'm wrong. Big pharma, big everything. And there is no doubt at this stage that the whole Ukraine war was all an effort for these big businesses to grab the resources of Ukraine and to grab the resources of Russia and push Putin out in the process. That was the ultimate goal. And the Ukrainians had Zelensky in there, and he had no hindsight or no interest at all. He's Jewish in the end of the day. Could they not get a proper Ukrainian Orthodox Christian? That's not to say he didn't do a reasonably good job. I can't say he isn't a fairly good leader of war. He's not winning, but it's all right. Would any of us be any better? But between the jigs and the reels, we are now where we are. There must be a very, very raw, sore nerve in the deep state that it looks like it's not going to get any of Ukraine's resources. What they'll get control of will be a mess. It'll take more to fix it than they'll ever bleed out of it. The eastern provinces will not be coming back. And the Crimea will not be coming back. They are bitter about that. They can't accept it. These people are not capable of accepting the like of this. Sleepy Joe Biden is lying out on the beach absorbing the sun, and the guard minding him on a deck chair. That's the interest he has. But now that they're losing, and now that they're facing losing, they'll spin the narrative, which is totally untrue, that Putin wants to take over the whole of Ukraine. What would he do with it? Who'd want that mess? And they'll spin the narrative that Putin wants to take over Germany. He lived in Germany for a good while. Why would he want to take over Germany? What would he do with Germany? Be mad in the head. That is not the case. But that's what they're going to spin. They can't take being beaten. He's thwarted them at every turn. But they're liable to do anything. They'll get enough crack Ukrainian troops to do something. They say that the idea of taking over the Kursk region was to have an extra bargaining chip, so that when they go to bargain, they could say, well, we have a piece of your country here now, we'll do a deal. It's very, very far-fetched. Very far-fetched. I can't see in any negotiations how the Russians would accept that, or accept that Ukraine has their territory. I think over the coming months, the Russians will slowly squeeze that area and slowly bring them under control and take it back. But I also think that the West and NATO, which is American NATO, will do something untold. Whatever you might say about Trump, and there's no doubt he's very, very closely aligned to the Israelis. And there was a time that Putin was supportive of the Jews, but that has changed. He's no longer supporting them. And so the one thing and the one fault will be with Trump is that he will do whatever he's told by Netanyahu. They control all. But we're moving a bit away now from that. America has sent several fleets into the area. Several of massive ships in there. So it's angling up there. The Russians are arming some of the Houthi rebels and Iran and all of this. So the way they see it in Washington is, and in NATO, they have to fight to the bitter end, and they can't let Putin win. So that begs the question, at what stage will conventional military fighting back or efforts be considered futile? The system is mutually assured destruction. And there's no such thing as a small nuclear weapon. A bomb from Ukraine lobbed into Berlin will automatically result in an effort to bomb Russia. Now, there are defences. The defences might actually work, I don't know. The way the defences are begotten round by the Iranians is to send in so many supersonic missiles that the defence system is overwhelmed. It shoots down 96%. And then there's one or two gets through, usually near the end, when they're getting low on ammunition, the real big one comes in. So what would likely happen in a Russian attack on Germany is there'd be a day's firing, there'd be firing from 12 midnight perhaps, there'd be one land in every so often, and then when they'd have a good bit done at about 11 o'clock, they'd send in a barrage, hoping that 2 or 3 would get through. Or maybe to just open fire with maybe 100 warheads, and 2 might be knocked down, or none might be knocked down. Then the retaliatory strike will take place, and it would all depend on how good the Russian defences are. I don't know that. But I presume what one side can do, the other side can do, and there'd be 1 or 2 get through to Russia. and then you have a nuclear war. You have a form of Armageddon. But you see, here in Ireland, we've been lambasted so much with Radio Television Sheridan talking about climate change, that we're nearly not able to take any normal warning. Our whole alert and our whole warning system has been browbeaten to such an extent to get us to agree to the taxes, to vote the Green Party in, keep Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and all of those, and to take all these migrants, that we're not able to deal with the danger of a nuclear war. Remember, we got warnings on education in the 60s when the new Cuban Missile Crisis was on. And there was a high alert. About 15 years ago, I'd say 97, iodine tablets were issued to the Irish people. I saw them, remember them. Don't know where they are. This was to help against nuclear radiation. There's nothing now. There's not a tablet. RT is still raving on about climate change. Climate change. Night, noon and morning. It's heralding and celebrating the heroic efforts of those building cures for this climate change. And meanwhile, this terrible danger is taking place in our world. Dangerous. People don't realise what nuclear weapons would be. We're only about 300 miles from potential targets in Britain. And Putin has shown a lot of forbearance, but the general, I understand now, and I can't give you his name, I just don't know, he's not a bluffer. He's not even doing this to bluff. I think he's perhaps retired. He's just warning people. Will you listen? At least if they'd listen. And Putin can't listen. I'm sorry, they won't listen. Because my camera's gone. They won't listen, and they won't listen to anything. And that's the hard situation that we're in. Folks, my battery's getting low. Very, very dangerous, I'll tell you. We'll see you back for something else. Comment underneath. Good luck.